Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about games from an OTB quad tournament that I won. It was 60 minutes time control, and let's jump right in. So first game, I played mostly against older guys, which is why these players will look maybe sort of weak for the rating. But in the first game, I started with knight c3, which is interesting. I played d5, and there's this interesting lineup with e4, d4, knight c2, e5, knight g3. And as you can see, you have a really high win rate for white, actually around 60%. So this isn't actually this that dumb. Like if you look at all the opening moves, your knight c3 actually has among the highest win rates. And depending on how you filter it, if you filter to rapid 2200, yeah, you see it has actually 53%, and it's actually the highest win rate of all the opening moves. So in this position, yeah, 62, 64, so actually interesting, but they played it with d4, and I was sort of hoping that he would transpose here. Knight f6, and now I'm back in theory, and here I know this move knight bd7, if you look at the win rates here, has the best win rate for black, because you don't get these Trampowski ideas, and they don't have e4, which they sometimes have in this line. Like if you play e6, I think they have e4 immediately. Yeah, they have e4 immediately, you see, and it's already very strong for white. So this is why knight bd7 is pretty practical. They play e3, and I basically go for the standard King's Indian setup. They put the pieces on the natural squares, and here was kind of hesitant to castle. You see me take 3 minutes. As you can see, the database c5 is also a somewhat common move here, because castles has the disadvantage that it allows h4, which I thought was strong here. For example, if you play h6, they already have ideas like playing h5 here. And if you take, you already get opened up to everything. So if you're an aggressive player, then I think h4 would definitely be your choice here. But instead he castled. No, sorry. Instead of castling, I want to say most people castle here. But instead of playing that, he played a very strange move, which is e4. Obviously, you shouldn't open the center when your king is still in the center, and this move doesn't make sense because you played e3 earlier, so why would you take 2 moves? Why aren't you doing anything with your other pieces that aren't developed yet? So both knight takes and pawn takes are basically identical. I played knight takes because I saw this trick. The knight takes d5. This actually loses because of the knight takes d5, knight takes g5, e6. You have a double attack and you win a knight. So I was sort of hoping he would fall for that. But instead he plays it normally. Here again you have the c5 idea. I played knight f6 instead, and he goes back. I developed my last piece with bishop g4. He plays g3. I think castling is a more interesting move here. Maybe I get this like this symbol, because if I take and take to win this pawn, then it's actually not so clear. First of all, he gets it back, and second of all, he has the bishop pair, so he's gonna attack me like crazy. So I think c3 was overly cautious, and queen goes into the center, and here I should just take back on f6. Instead I allow this, which basically allows him after queen takes to just immediately go into an endgame. And yes, he has double pawns, but I have the we have opposite colored bishops, so there's no chance that I really win this. Instead he does g takes f3, and this is just bad for him. My king is never under any danger, because this is already protected by g6, so he's never gonna attack me, and he's just putting his own king in danger. But of course, maybe he just didn't want to draw. And I find a good move. E takes f6 here. This is of course also fine, but I saw bishop before, and I thought this wouldn't be so strong. And yeah, Stephen Willie is challenging me right now. Should have told him that I wanted to make another video, but okay. No, Steven. Yeah, play e takes f6, and the idea is that I'm opening up the line for the rook, obviously. So he immediately has to do something with his king. Instead, he also tries bishop e4, but here I have this move rook fe8, and he can't take the piece, obviously, because of the pin. And here computer suggests king f1 or even castle short, which looks crazy, but if you think about it, king can just hide on h1 and maybe rook goes to g1, so it's not that crazy. Obviously, black should still be better, so king f1, queen b5 check, and winning a pawn, for example, or castles, and you can go up with the bishop to create some pressure. Like if you don't see bishop f4, it's checkmating, but you can just protect here with rook g1, and yeah, you're boss, but you're not immediately losing. Instead, in this position, he plays king f2, and it immediately loses to a move that I only considered very briefly, which is rook takes here, brilliant sacrifice, f takes, queen takes, and queen is covering the light squares, and this bishop is gonna cover this bishop is gonna come here to cover the dark squares. So this is actually a very nice checkmating net. If you look at some of the ideas, for example, I thought queen e2, bishop h6, and what I didn't see is that this rook is just hanging. If you try rook e1 instead, then you have to give back the rook, but it's not even good to take this, because this allows white to escape only a pawn down, and your pawn is doubled, remember, but you can just continue bullying white. So the only move, kind of hard to find, but you can use exclusion principle for this. Queen f1 is the only move that doesn't lose, because after bishop h6 you have king d1 available, and this is a very wrong line. There's not even like a 1 in a million chance that I see this. f3, queen e3, king c2, king goes over here, rook goes here, and king is still here. And okay, I can see now that black is better, but it's not at all clear that you're gonna reach this position from the starting position. And instead I played queen a5 here. It's a mistake, because yeah, this sec was the most winning move. If it's queen b3, obviously I played queen a5 because I didn't like that after queen b5. I don't even know if I have this move. Then he has queen b3 and he's forcing a queen trade, although this is not as good as it looks. Yeah, because you can deny the queen trade effectively. But yeah, I didn't see that, so I played queen a5 with the idea of playing c5 to open up this file and get at the king. I thought this was a good idea, but you know, engine doesn't like it. Well, I mean, c5 is a good move, but it's based on queen a5, which is not so strong. Here, just continue marching the pawns to attack b5. Moving this rook is a bit strange. I thought I saw a4 here in this position, and I thought, well, after b4, my attack doesn't seem that strong. I thought he could even take here. Apparently this is not good, but yeah, he can even play queen c4. And might be counterintuitive to, if you want to go safe on the, if you want to run your king to the queen side to open up your queen side like this. But the thing is, your king is just never getting to the queen side. You're gonna lose before it gets there. Here I thought now was the time to give this check, which I could have given all this time, with the idea being, if king d1, sorry, if not king d1, then this bishop is running out of squares, and you win the bishop like this. Of course, white gets 2 pawns for this, so maybe this is actually still playable for white, but He didn't want to get forked. C4 here, and now you're just never getting this king over to the queen side. Here I played queen c6 with the idea of queen f4 and getting in. d6 looks like a blunder on account, well, d6 first of all looks like I blundered because my rook is attacked and my queen is attacked. But of course I have rook a8, which is pinning this king. And so based on that it looks like a blunder d6, but because it loses the pawn for white, but actually it's the best move. Because king c2 you lose material like this. And rook e2 it's just similarly completely lost. There's even sacrifice here. So you win this pawn and you up a pawn. And here I also thought about f5, but I was seeing, not calculating correctly, and I was seeing checkmating ideas with this queen on f8 here. So for example, one very weird line was bishop b7, and I can't really take because my rook on e8 is attacked. So I swap rooks, and I still can't take because the queen would take this. Yeah. So this is attacked. So you have to give the check here, and if you take here, then there's rook e8, and there's queen f8, and I thought I was actually losing here. But of course king f6, and yes, you lose the piece that you're up, but you're actually still winning. There was also in this position, there's also the funny move queen e5, and this is, yeah, 0% chance of me finding this because this is a checkmating motive that we're gonna see later in the game, just wink wink. And yeah, literally has to lose the bishop if he doesn't want to get checkmated. You can try queen e7, but even then you can just take and mate. So yeah, there's literally nothing you can do about this. About this rook being attacked. Okay, but instead I played this to take it slowly. This is of course setting up this pin, so now he can't move the bishop without losing this rook. So that's why he moves the rook away. Yeah, so now my threat of f5 became even stronger. I played queen f4 here because he's pinning me. So if f5, I thought bishop takes f5, and it's getting very difficult. He's pinning me, so I'm completely just losing this pawn. That's why I thought queen f4 first and then f5 next move. Yeah, queen takes a7 is obviously misguided. He can try king b1 to finally manually castle to the end. Then f5, but then I still get in, but at least I have to do some work. Queen takes a7 just immediately loses to f5. Bishop goes to d5, and then there's a checkmating pattern. You obviously can pick up the bishop, but the checkmating pattern is even better. So checkmating pattern is takes, 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 here and here. And this is what I was showing earlier in that variation. So yeah, he was the oldest one of all, I think, maybe 60 or something. And so if you guys think he didn't play so good, well, maybe that's maybe you can cut him some slack. So here the second game I was playing as white. We got Queen's Gambit declined, this all theory, and here you can play knight f3, but I play this variation where you instead play the knight there, so you play f3, play the pawn to f3 and the pawn to e4 to get a very strong center, and that's exactly what I was trying to accomplish. Here I played rook c1 and actually completely missed knight g4. The idea being, well, you're attacking this and you're attacking checkmate. And it looked very strong until you realize that white just has bishop f4. And yeah, not very good, this variation. So just because I was getting so nervous about knight g4, now that I spotted it, I was like, I'm just gonna play bishop f4 on my own accord, and I'm gonna take away his checkmating patterns. I trade this, Then I play f3, and here I proceed with my plan of e4, just a standard plan. And here was like, okay, f takes e4 is the standard plan here. But then was like, well, he still has checkmating patterns with knight g4, and is also threatening to go to e3. And so what I thought, well, the most logical move looks like e5, but then queen just goes to h6, and you have again the problem that you have checkmate on h2 and knight going to e3. So you play h3 and you get forked. And computer says, okay, it's still equal, but obviously you just lost material, right? So instead, the move that I saw like for a second, but I didn't really believe in it, in the game was rook f4. And the idea being you both take away the fork, and on the other hand, you cut the communication for this checkmate, right? If the knight goes here, it's literally just trapped after queen d2. The idea of g5 to chase away this rook doesn't work because the rook can just take, right? So you probably have to prepare g5. So you would play something like h5. And now if you play something like h3, it's just too slow because he has g5. So you need something more interesting. So for example, e5, queen c7, h3. Okay, why knight h6? No, yeah, why knight h6, g5. Yeah, g5, you go here, you know, and now black's position is completely crumbling, so you can't really play g5 if your position has that many holes, you know. And yeah, so very difficult position, very complicated position, and I didn't figure it out, and it was just like, okay, I bite the bullet and I play knight takes, which is obviously giving away all of my advantage. Yeah, here I was definitely losing because it's either gonna put a knight or a queen on e3, and I'm just getting crushed positionally, but it's actually still equal if you look at the evaluation. He brought his pieces in, and now putting this knight here actually isn't so good. I was able to successfully undevelop, and I'm about to play knight d1 to undevelop the knight and trade everything off, and then I'm actually better. So knight d1, taking advantage of this pin here, and here f4, and then I was like, can he actually hold this pawn? Because I'm not quite sure he can. And yeah, I'm very I'm just about to win back this pawn, but he has still some annoying ideas. So rook e2, and then he's this bishop idea. And here I was like, okay, I can probably try to fight for an advantage, but I want to be 100% sure that I win back this pawn. And I saw, okay, if I play rook c e1, he takes, I take, and then I play the rook back to e1. Then I was like, I'm 100% getting this pawn back. And yeah, he offered the queen trade here. You can try to decline it with queen c3, but ultimately I was just happy with a draw because I was actually thinking I was worse the whole time when it actually wasn't the case. So he offered a draw here and I accepted, and as I said, I was playing for a draw, which you can see by, for example, this move here, rook c e1, where it's like, okay, I'm losing a tempo to bishop takes bishop, but I just want to draw, you know. And as you can see, I was already low on time, 7 minutes, and so on. So I didn't really want to risk getting into a complicated position with no time on the clock. Now, if we look at the last game, I was playing as black again. Here we get the Caro-Kann advance, and most strong players here take, but most people on my level for some reason play c3, which is just so much inferior in my opinion. But they're probably confusing it for a fringe or something. I don't know why so many people play this variation. Knight c6, and then f4, which is even worse. Like lead chess is even giving this in an accuracy. And yeah, the variation that I have is something that someone said Gotham Chess actually recommended, and I didn't even know that. But I don't know which line I have here. Oh, I think this is one of the lead chess generated lines. I'm just gonna delete it. Yeah, and I had a game in this before, and I played knight h6 here, which is not so good because you can take. But I mean, obviously, if you play c3, you don't really know that you can take. And Yeah, now I know the theory good enough to play this correctly. Um, a game I had in this before went like, yeah. So now I know the theory, and here h5, the custom recommendation. You can also play knight h6 here. Knight h3, you develop the pieces always to the same squares, and yeah, you always have the idea of developing this knight to this f5 square, and here the position is already really strong. h3 was already a mistake, because here you actually, after queen b6, which I found, you actually have no way to defend this d4 pawn anymore. There's just no pieces that can access this square. So I was like, why is queen b6 just winning? He made it even worse by playing b3, and of course now I can just take like this, but then I'm running into this pin. But I found an even better way to just win with all the advantage, which is bishop b4 check, bishop c3, taking advantage of b3 by attacking the rook. It's like b3 is always a bad move in this kind of position. And now I can take with the bishop. And that's even better, because now he can literally not even castle. So this was like a 4 sequence, and now it's his turn again, and if he castles here, then I have knight g3. And this is attacking the rook, right? So you think you get out. So if you move the rook, then you're obviously gonna lose the bishop, right? So if you move this rook defending this, then you're gonna lose it, right? So yeah, and taking like this is obviously not legal. So what you do is you take here, it's check, but you can solve both problems at once, both the check and the knight attack, by playing rook f2. And here black has the brilliant move knight h1 to get the exchange anyway. So if king takes the knight, then queen takes the rook, and if you don't do anything, then just knight takes the rook. So very interesting tactic here with knight h1. Here continue just pushing with h4. Apparently knight b4 was already winning, but I don't like moves like this. Like the knight just looks way too loose, but there's just nothing here. Like the king f1, I don't know. Yeah, you're setting up some forks if you take on f2 is the idea, I guess. Yeah, but I wouldn't have even considered knight b4. So h4, just solidify. Here after h4, again, no castling, because you have this fork. And this is why his move of queen e2 here was so strange. But of course you can't castle, so it's difficult to find moves, and queen e2 looks like it develops a piece. So I can understand why you played it, but it's just the wrong square. And here he threatens my knight, so I go in for knight g3, and now he can never castle, because he just lost his dark squared bishop, and my dark squared bishop can give him a check. And here played g6, which I was unhappy about. Like I fought for 6 minutes here, and I thought I don't see how to continue. I'm not sure how to convert this, and I was like, g6 is such a terrible move, but it's actually the best move in the position. And yeah, I was like, he could have probably played f5 earlier, but I'm gonna prevent it now, and this was exactly the right plan. And you know, always when you like prevent something, he still has sometimes some other threats, right? Like knight g5, for example, or something, but wasn't the case in this game. Yeah, here he played a terrible move, probably more than an accuracy queen d3. This is literally walking exactly into my knight move here. So it's literally giving me free tempo. Here it goes back to protect a2. And here computer doesn't like d4. I thought d4 was a clever idea. Computer likes b3, which is just a fork on the rook and this pawn. I don't know why it wants this pawn so much. Because earlier in the game, I also had the opportunity to win this pawn, which actually like the 1900 suggested to me. So he said I should play knight e3 here, check, and this is check, and then I win this pawn. But actually there's bishop takes d5, just discovery on my bishop, and you're actually not even barely even better. So I play d4 here, and yeah, this rook move doesn't do much, but my plan with d4 was basically pre-moving knight d5 and then some sort of discovery. Here instead he should have played knight d2, and if I try knight d5 now, then he can just cover cover this square and attack the queen. So of course knight c3 loses now because he can take with the rook, and my queen is still attacked. So queen a6, and then he gets his knight here. So, and then even bishop takes e6, you can try to get the queen to g6. So it's definitely an interesting approach, knight d2 to play knight c4, but he didn't find that. He just moved the rook up, and this just allows this tactic. And here you can see I thought that I fought for longer, but here I fought down to 17 minutes, and I thought, okay, my original plan was taking here, and the idea is obviously you can't take this pawn because of the pin, right? Or you can't take with the pawn because of the pin, so I just won a full piece. But actually that's rook hc1, and now you're getting problems down here. So if I just castled, he just takes the piece, right? So what do you do? The computer says that you have knight e3, and losing this rook in the corner actually doesn't matter to you, because at the end you have knight d5, and you have some crazy ideas of not being able to prevent this fork. So no matter where you go, if you go here, there's d3 and you get forked, and the next move, no matter which piece you take with. So some crazy stuff, which I didn't see. So I thought, okay, well, winning the exchange has to be good. The other advantage of this move is you get in here, and now you're just really getting at the king's throat. He blocks, and here I'm very proud of this, find the best move in the position, d3 check. And yeah, this is justifying all my play with the pawns, pushing the pawn forward. And he basically has to take with the queen, otherwise he's immediately losing the knight. So king d1 is checkmate. King takes d3 is just probably a worse version than queen takes d3. So queen takes d3, obvious tempo, rook d8, and here rook b1, which I also saw when I played the pawn move. And here you have a tactic of distraction. Queen takes a2, keeps up this pin, and now it looks like now his queen has to move, obviously, and now it looks like you gave him the c3 square to protect the knight, but actually, bam, you go in with the sack, and then you take the rook. And here just up a full rook, and I don't wanna, and I think he should have resigned here, but he continued playing, and I played terribly. I converted this very clumsily, and here in this position he even blundered mate m1, and I didn't see it. It's right here, but I played too quickly, and so yeah, he resigned 2 moves later, and that's how I won this quad in my rating group. So thanks to you all for watching. Hope you learned something. I thought these games were interesting, and they made me look like a better player than I am. And see you next time.